Once they have decided you are the enemy, they will go out and demonize you at all costs. You get no grace, you get no favorable interpretation, you get no benefit of the doubt. And right now, Megyn Kelly, because of her failure, her refusal to renounce her friendship and publicly denounce Candace Owens, public enemy number one, because she refuses to denounce Tucker Carlson, public enemy number one, because she's, I'd say, pretty critical of Israel, public enemy number one. When it comes to Candace Owens, I'm not really jumping on the bandwagon either, because I think if everybody, you want to generate interest and you want to promote what I think is fundamentally immoral behavior of attacking a widow. I mean, I appreciate now you can go and say, well, she's the CEO of Turning Points, and so subject to fair scrutiny. That's fine. Fair scrutiny is fair scrutiny. Fair scrutiny is not going up and digging up Instagram posts from 13 freaking years ago to suggest the most nefarious things on earth. That's not fair game. That's cheap exploitation. I believe that's what it is. I believe it's unfair, and it's not something I'll have any hand in. Does it require blocking? Does it require a campaign to demonize the people who you think are doing something wrong? No, because all you do is give them publicity by doing that. The Streisand effect is real. Well, Megyn Kelly came out with a video, and I say, she posts this, and I'm not trying to put the guy on blast. Bren, he follows me. I have a sincere question to the individual, because she has Glenn Greenwald on, and this clip is going viral. Everyone now self-righteously has to take a hot, steaming, proverbial digital dump on Megyn Kelly because she spouted something, or I should say she repeated something, which people say spouting because it's inaccurate. It's a lie. She's just spouting lies. And I'm like, am I crazy in thinking that there's an element of truth in this? Here's the clip, and then we're going to get into this because this sent me down a rabbit hole. I didn't get all the way down the rabbit hole, and if I've made a mistake, I want the internet to correct me, and I will correct myself. I want to understand things, and people on the internet don't seem to understand that. When you want to have a discussion about something that you're not entirely certain about, and if you get facts wrong, and so that the aggregate knowledge of the internet, A, can correct you, and people can understand. This is the clip.
Heavily by the pro-Israel crowd and the Israel First crowd, and then the bots. There are many, many bots on X that are part of an operation, and then there are many, many live humans on X who actually get $7,000 a tweet. People have come out and admitted it from the Israelis to troll anybody who deviates from the party line. And so, I want the audience to understand that this is happening, and it's an effort by a foreign country to silence the views of American about American foreign policy heavily.
So that's the claim. And again, I'm not putting this man on blast. I sincerely want to know what he thinks is objectionable about it, because it sent me down the rabbit hole. I can't believe Megyn Kelly actually said this. She claimed Israel is paying Americans $7,000 to post pro-Israel content on social media. That's the kind of conspiracy theory you usually hear from anonymous internet trolls, not a high-profile political commentator. She can't seriously believe that. Right now, I'm going to give Bren the benefit of the doubt, because the internet is a vast, endless place, and it's impossible to know everything about everything at all times. And so the argument here seems to be that this rumor went around the internet, let's say like November, late in 2025, earlier in this year, that certain people were getting paid $7,000 a post. It became a trope. Did you get your $7,000 for that pro-Israel trope? Okay, fine. So that's the clip, and I'll give everybody the link so that you can keep track of this yourself. I wanted to know what the issue was here, because in my recollection, there was some element of truth to it, but I also wanted to know what's the disinformation part of this. And so that brought me to say, all right, what's the scandal? What's the scoop? Where did the rumor or the lie, in as much as they're in one, get started? So I replied to Bren. I say, this is where I believe disinformation is sprinkled into information so that it creates sufficient confusion and can be used to discredit people who are essentially right. Bear in mind, there are ways, they did this to Alex Jones. You get someone to repeat something false, and then you get to discredit everything that person has ever said, done, and stood for in their lives. That's one way of doing it. The other way of fighting an information war or a disinformation war is to sprinkle in elements of disinformation so that you then throw out the baby with the bathwater by saying, oh, it wasn't $7,000 a post, you idiot. All wrong, when it was something. I mean, the idea that it's offensive or a conspiracy theory to suggest there are paid campaigns and bots and trolls on the internet, to deny that makes you an idiot. So I said, my understanding is that the $7,000 per post might have been a misunderstanding, misreading of the document, but pay to post and using paid influencers to push messaging is definitely a thing. This is the document. Okay, perhaps Megyn Kelly is wrong on the amount per post, but unless I'm misunderstanding the filing, she is essentially right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The document is a document that was filed with, as you can see up here, received by NSD. I forget what that acronym stands for. FARA, Foreign Agent Registration. What is NSD? Get the NSD part of the acronym. Sorry, NSD FARA acronym. The NSD, come on, why is it not telling me what the NSD stands for? NSD acronym, come on. NSD, Foreign Agent Registration Act, is a law. Oh, yeah, the National Security Division. National Security Division. This is the document. They filed this. And as you see up here, it's from Bridges Partners, LLC. I guess foreign on behalf of Havas Media Network. LAP, we're looking up on the top here. Campaign Esther Project. We're going to come back to that. 47239. You got a bunch of names here. And then the order. And what you have here is influencer campaign USD, United States dollars, miscellaneous costs. Note, initial payments for production and influencers concept development with each influencer begin matching with Israeli content partners and writing initial post. Then you get miscellaneous costs for $140,000. Bring it up here just in case we can't see this. Development phase payments for influencers and production. 5 to 6 influencers begin creating content, begin onboarding additional influencers, post volume approximately 25 to 30. Booked. Influencer USD. Payment for influencers for production 3 to 4. We can do the rest of it. $200,000. New Israel connections created post volume 25 to 30. Another $250,000. Payment for influencers in production 3 to 4 more influencers activated. Further expansion. Okay, fine. That's the document. Go up here. Bridges Partners LLC and Havas. Remember these names. What is Bridges Partners LLC? And I apologize if this is like repetitive for people out there, but it wasn't repetitive for me. Now here, what is Bridges? We're going to get there in a second. This is from Public Citizen, and it looks like an activist organization, so take it with a grain of salt, but let's see what we can reconcile from an activist organization that might be up to whatever, and what facts as we currently know them. FARA complaint alleges US-based social media influencers are acting as agents of Israeli government. This is Mr. Eisenberg. Dear Mr. Eisenberg, please accept this letter as a formal complaint regarding apparent violations of FARA, specifically section yada, 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 by influencers who appear to be operating as unregistered agents of the government of Israel. Who's Bridge Partners? This is accurate. This might be an activist organization, Public Citizen. They might be a bunch of scoundrels. I don't know that they are, but they might be as much of scoundrels as much as Media Matters for America, as much as the ACLU or the ADL. But facts are facts, again, regardless of who they come from. Bridge Partners, a Delaware-based LLC, is compensating these individuals as part of a $900,000 contract on behalf of Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs to create content as described in Bridge Partners Exhibit AB. According to the contract filed under FARA on September 26, 2025, and reviewed by the Quincy Institute and Public Citizen, Bridges Partners LLC is carrying out this work as a subcontractor for Havas Media Group Germany on behalf of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The influencer campaign, nicknamed Esther Project, remember that because it's going to come up again in a second when it comes to the Heritage Foundation, nicknamed Esther Project on the FARA filing covers this time period. And so they're going to allege that anybody who does this, without disclosing it, the influencers are unregistered foreign agents. Here's the link to that. Now, where does it get confusing? Because we got this filing. This is the filing in its original form, from which I cited before, received by NSD FARA registration, September 26. You see what you got here? Bridges Partners LLC. Just so you can see this is still up there. efile.fara.gov docs, and I'll give everybody the link so you can grab it yourselves. Thus far, all the facts check out. Bridges, representing Havas Germany, acting on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel, has something of an influencer campaign. Okay. Where does it get a little confusing? There is another Project Esther. This one's coming from National Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism. Project Esther, a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. National Task Force. Project Esther, a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. This, from what I understand, comes out of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank in the US, happens to be named Project Esther as well. The Torah, in the book of Esther, Megillah Esther, tells us that in the mid-4th century BC, a thriving Jewish community in ancient Persia risked extermination. Haman, Persian king, I guess that's how they pronounce Achashverosh, prime minister, visitor, angry, Mordechai the Jew. Okay. Now let's just go in here in this document. We want to go to not influences, influencer. And this is now down on page 27. Authorities. As American citizens, our authorities derive from the Republic's founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Beyond that are federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, etc. We have several laws at our disposal that may help us exploit yada yada resources. First and foremost, Project Esther will require money to fund the operations needed to counter the HSN. Hold up, let me just see what HSN is again here. Hamas Support Network. Okay, now let's go back to influencers. That money may originate from coalitions, large donors, other high net worth individuals, and grassroots fundraising. Similarly, we will need centers of influence, which themselves may be high net worth individuals or key influencers. Much of the information required, especially with respect to building out the HSN, that's the Hamas Support Network for analysis, is publicly available or purchasable. Information that is not so readily accessible can likely be accessed through freedom of information. Okay. So now you have two things, and it gets a little confusing. The Heritage Foundation, Project Esther. Heritage Foundation, Project Esther. And let's bring this up so we can see it in real time so that you can see it as I do this. Project Esther, from the Heritage Foundation, a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. And let's see if the word influencer comes up in here. Where is it? Ah oui, donc, je peux pas le trouver. So what you got going on here? By the way, not for nothing, some people are going to say, well, the Project Esther, which consists of paying influencers, is different than the Project Esther of the Heritage Foundation, because the Heritage Foundation came out and said there's no connection between the two. Now, let's just bring up this article, which is where I think the $7,000 per post came up, which is stupid math based on the aggregate and whatever. Again, the disinformation sprinkled in to create confusion might be the quantum that allows people to disregard the fact that, unless I am mistaken, there is black and white documented evidence. Whether or not you think 5 or 6 influencers is nothing, it's happening. And then who knows how many more come on board? Who knows how broad the reach of those 5 or 6 influencers are? This is not accurate stuff here. I'm going to read it regardless. Responsible statecraft. Israel is paying influencers $7,000 per post. Netanyahu referred this week to a community pushing out preferred messaging in U.S. media, and boy, are they making a princely sum. This goes into the document, which was misread and then misstated, but thus far doesn't seem to be wrong in, not even in essence, wrong in fact. Link to that. And so dumping on Megyn Kelly for citing the trope number $7,000, which, might be the lingering effect of a misinterpretation from the get-go, despite the fact that everything else seems to be materially accurate. Now, yes, I'm quoting from the Jerusalem Post. From what I understand, it's as left-leaning a rag in Israel as CNN is in America. And they hate Netanyahu as much as CNN, MS Now hates Trump in America. All right. Be that as it may, facts don't change when you've done the 360 full circle cross-verification. Jerusalem Post, when is this from? October 1st, 2025. Inside Israel's Esther project, Justice Department filing exposes secret influencer PR campaign. The filing reveals that a firm called Bridges LLC has been hired to manage an influencer network under the project codename Esther Project. And we're told that it's a pure coincidence. The Heritage Project in America calls it Esther Project, Heritage Foundation, has nothing to do with Bridges LLC, and Havas, Germany, representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs out of Israel. Newly filed records with the Department of Justice show that Israel's government has quietly launched a two-track influence operation in the United States, blending big-budget political advertising with grassroots-style influencer campaigns. The filings reveal that a firm called Bridges LLC has been hired to manage an influencer network under a project named Esther Project. It's unclear if there is any link to Project Esther, a plan to combat anti-Semitism published by the Heritage Foundation. They've denied it. Heritage Foundation has denied the connection, and maybe it just has its roots in an aptly named passage from the Bible, story from the Bible, a historical story. In its disclosure required under the FARA Act, Bridges said it has worked in its work was intended to, quote, assist with promoting cultural interchange between the United States and Israel, and specified that the engagement runs through a German division of the global PR firm Havas. Attached documents show the firm, owned by Israeli consultants Uri Steinberg and Yair Levy, was formed in June 2025 in Delaware, and soon after received nearly $200,000 to recruit, coordinate U.S. I don't know if who specifically has been paid, but to have all of this and then dare to say that Megyn Kelly is out in left field and should be discredited as a journalist, as a commentator, as an analyst, whatever you want to call her. The contracts allow for up to $900,000 in payments over several months, include detailed pricing. Okay, we saw that. The filing also maps out the phased rollout, 3 to 6 influencers on board at a time, and each expected to post roughly 25 to 30 pieces of content per month across Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. Later phases anticipated further expansion, including, quote, matching the Israeli content partners, end quote, and developing partnership with US-based marketing agencies. Documents also list payments. There is evidence that the work is already underway. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with a group of influencers on Friday in New York City. When one asked him how to win back declining support for Israel, he said, quote, we have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance, to that community. They are very important. Some people might say he's just talking about influencers, people who have influence, not necessarily anybody who's a paid member of this particular project, Esther. Others might say that's exactly who he's talking about. Netanyahu added, we have the right. We have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we engage, and the most important ones are on social media. Bridges filings, unreported until now, add new information about Israel's sweeping current diplomacy push in what Israel officials have taken to calling an eighth front in the country's current war. Do we need to keep going on this? I don't think we do. I'll give you that. I archived the link so that we don't lose it to the internet. And someone in the chat is going to tell me where I got it wrong, what I got wrong, and if I am a derelict for suggesting that Megyn Kelly got it essentially right. We don't know the scope and breadth of it, but we certainly know of the existence of it. And to suggest that it's anti-Semitic conspiracy theory to state this, I mean, I presume that every government out there has influencers on their payroll. Some disclose it, some don't. I'm not exactly sure what the laws are across various jurisdictions about disclosing a paid post. They all do it. Why wouldn't Israel do it? Every government, every entity. And the idea to say, oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's not $7,000. Okay, you got her. It's not $7,000 per post. But unless I've misunderstood anything, it's entirely accurate. There's a question as to whether or not that Project Esther from Bridges LLC, for and on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel through a German company called Havas, has anything to do with the Project Esther through the Heritage Foundation out of America. I don't know. I'll take the Heritage Foundation at their word that there's no connection. Don't get there and tell me that it doesn't exist when I'm reading it with my own two eyes. And that's that.